All right, media, if I'll have you come take your seats now, we'll get going. Welcome to the Final X Men's Freestyle Press Conference here at Prudential Center. The way we will operate this thing here is I've got 8 athletes up on stage. I'll ask each athlete to give a brief introductory statement, talk about the opportunity to compete at Final X and potentially make a U.S. World Team. I'll introduce each athlete and then we'll get started. Media, if you do have questions, raise your hand. We'll bring a microphone around. Savannah has a microphone and we will get rolling that way. Cool. All right, I will start here on my left. Mr. Zane Rutherford. Zane representing Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, Titan Mercury Wrestling Club. He's competing at 70 kilograms this weekend. Zane's a 3-time World Team member, world silver medalist last year, 3-time NCAA champion for Penn State. Zane, if you could, opening statement.
Just excited to be here. I think this is my third or fourth Final X. Yeah, it's always a fun time. Looking forward to competing alongside a lot of my teammates, so it's going to be a fun day wrestling tomorrow.
We've got Thomas Gilman, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. I'm going to say that a lot today. Titan Mercury Wrestling Club. He's competing at 57 kilograms. Thomas is Olympic bronze medalist in 2020, world champion in 2021, 4-time world medalist, 3-time All-American at NCAAs for the University of Iowa. Thomas, if you could give an opening statement.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the boys are back in town. It's kind of like a college dual meet in a way. We got from the top to the bottom Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, so that's pretty exciting, and it should be weight order, and I'm starting things off, so I'm really excited about that. That's about all I got to say.
Thank you, Thomas. Passing it over to Jaden Cox, representing Cliff Keen Wrestling Club, Titan Mercury Wrestling Club. He's competing at 97 kilograms tomorrow. Jaden's an Olympic bronze medalist in 2016, 5-time world medalist, 2-time world champ, 3-time NCAA champ for Missouri.
Kind of on the same boat. I'm excited to be here. It's great to get to compete, especially get to compete against one of the best. Just trying to do what I do. I'm just here for another day. It's wrestling, so gonna have fun, get out there, do what I do.
Jordan Burrows, representing Pennsylvania RTC Sunkiss Kids Wrestling Club. He's competing at 79 kilograms tomorrow. Jordan is a 6-time world champ, 2-time Olympian, 2012 Olympic gold medalist, 10-time world and Olympic medalist, 2-time NCAA champion for Nebraska.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for coming today. Man, I was thinking about this on the ride here yesterday. We were talking about it. The last time I wrestled in New Jersey, which this is my home. I grew up in South Jersey, Sicklerville, New Jersey to be exact. Typically when you're from Jersey, you measure yourself or your location geographically by the exit on the New Jersey Turnpike. I actually grew up off exit 38 of the Atlantic City Expressway, and I haven't wrestled in New Jersey since 2008 against Rider University. We had a dual meet when I was a sophomore at Nebraska. So it's been 15 years since I got to wrestle in my home. So I'm excited. The only problem with being back and wrestling in your home is all the free tickets that people ask for. Right, so I've spent more money buying tickets for my family and friends to come watch me this weekend than I'm gonna make from winning this weekend. But it's gonna be an exciting time. I'm excited to be back and can't wait to compete.
Thank you, Jordan. Next to Jordan, we have Kyle Snyder. Kyle is representing Nittany Lion Wrestling Club as well, Titan Mercury Wrestling Club. He's competing at 97 kilograms. Kyle is a 2-time Olympian, 2016 Olympic gold medalist, 2020 Olympic silver medalist, 3-time world champion, 6-time world medalist, 3-time NCAA champion for Ohio State. Did I get all that?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, just thankful to be able to compete. Appreciate you guys coming out.
Thanks, Kyle. Moving on to Kyle Dake. Kyle is a Nittany Lion Wrestling Club and Titan Mercury Wrestling Club representative at 74 kilograms. Kyle is a 4-time world champion, 2020 Olympic bronze medalist, and was a 4-time NCAA champion for Cornell.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for coming. Excited to compete tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys get some really cool pictures and we can put on a show for you.
Thanks, Kyle. David Taylor, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, Titan Mercury Wrestling Club. He's competing at 86 kilograms tomorrow. David is a 2020 Olympic gold medalist, two-time world champion, three-time world medalist, and a two-time NCAA champion at Penn State.
Looking forward to competing tomorrow. Just echoing, everyone else that's come before me, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I heard that ticket sales are going pretty strong. Went out there, looked at the arena just like we do before every time we compete, and there's wrestling mats out there. There's tape on the wrestling mats. To be fans in the stands, which is something that's pretty exciting. To be able to wrestle domestically with people in the stands is something we haven't really done too many times recently. So looking forward to that opportunity to do that and compete, put on the show, and gonna have some fun.
Last but not least, Jason Nolf, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, Titan Mercury Wrestling Club, competing at 74 kilograms tomorrow. He is a U.S. Open champion and a three-time NCAA champion for Penn State. Jason?
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm excited to compete tomorrow. Obviously, anytime you can compete in front of a lot of fans in a big arena, you compete at your best. So happy to be representing Scrap Life and Athletes Ocean tomorrow.
All right, we'll open the floor to questions for any of our athletes. If you can, raise your hand, state your name, media outlet, and we'll give you the microphone.
Andrew Spay with Flow Wrestling. First question is for Jordan. Just wanted to know if you could give your perspective. It seems like the norm for a long time was guys would try to wrestle one Olympics and you'd kind of get one quad out of them and there wouldn't be that much more. And now we're approaching the fourth time you're going for an Olympic team. Obviously Final X is coming up first, but just if you could talk about what that personally meant for you and then what you see it's done for USA Wrestling as now that multiple times going for Olympics becomes a norm.
Yeah, the answer to that question would just be resources. I would say a level of professionalism that is now associated with wrestling. I think a lot of people retired early because the natural progression for most wrestlers, if you compete at an elite level, you just go on to coach. There wasn't a lot of money in it. There was no professional league. There was no living the dream fund. There weren't sponsorships and social media and all of these digital marketing deals that you can come across now that every single person on this board is making good money. They all can take care of their families and their full focus is to be the best wrestlers in the world. And that didn't exist really before 2008. We lost a lot of our best athletes to coaching, MMA, and the WWE. And I think that now guys are focused on competing in the sport for a longer period of time because it's become lucrative and it's because it's our passion. We love to do this. So I think that that's primarily been the reason for seeing these guys compete for such a long period of time is the level of professionalism associated with it, the amount of money that's been infused because of the stewards of the Living the Dream Fund, and really just the growth of the sport as a whole.
What's up, Miller Ohio Cast? This is for Kyle Dake. Jason Nolf is like a nightmare matchup for everybody. He's like a dynamo. I don't know if a lot of people really want to wrestle him. You're the same club. Do you guys get any looks at each other in practice? Do you separate? Do you wrestle? How do you approach a matchup like this with a guy who's such an offensive dynamo, who makes up techniques, moves on the fly? He's not afraid to attack anybody, and he's just like super entertaining. What's that matchup like for you, and how do you go into this matchup?
Most of the time, I'm just trying to make sure I don't get hit with a dodgeball when I'm playing him. And then when I do have a dodgeball, I gotta hit him real hard. So for the most part, he's pretty tricky when he's dodging. He can jump up and lay down really fast. And you don't really want to shoot for his head because he's got a weird neck and can get out of the way. So a lot of that translates to wrestling. He can get out of a lot of weird spots. He can wrestle in a lot of positions. You just got to be focused and go try to score your points and take them where you can.
Christian Piles, Flow Wrestling. Question for David. You got to Penn State in like 2009. Contrast the growth of not just the collegiate team, but the club and what you've seen in Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. We're now, there's gonna be 8 NLWC wrestlers just on the men's freestyle side competing, and also just how that has an effect on your training. And I guess secondarily, you're gonna be competing against a teammate. What is that dynamic like in the room?
remember when I was looking at where I wanted to go to college, and one of the, obviously there's a lot of factors that go into that, but I always had aspirations to, be a world Olympic champion. And the RTCs were kind of just starting. And when I came to Penn State, it was about the coaching staff, and it was about believing in that they could help me with my goals, whether it was in the present or in the future. And during that time, the RTCs became more prevalent. They started to grow. And I know coaches, goal was always to have, an RTC that was the best in the world. And I think as time's gone on, with the environment that we have at Penn State, we don't want to leave, and we graduate, and just like as each class graduated, we wanted to stay and train and compete because we believed that the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club was in part how we were able to be successful when we were in college, and we felt it was the best place to be successful when we were done with college. And that just continued to go. So it is kind of crazy to look back, and man, I went to Penn State in 2009, right? And we're coming up on the 2024 Olympics. And every people along the way, whether they've become coaches or they've become training, and some people have trained and left and come back, it's created a really unique experience. And when you have, in what we believe, the best training environment in the world, it's natural progression that you're going to start wrestling with teammates. And when you have generations of people that continue to stay around, you're going to start wrestling your teammates maybe more frequently because, like Jordan had talked about, we have reason, incentive, beyond our personal goals and aspirations to continue wrestling, continue to compete. We believe, as time has changed, our even personally, and a lot of us, I think, everyone up here can talk about this, just how we take care of our bodies. The nutrition, the recovery, the training mentality, it's changed and evolved. So it's allowed us to wrestle further in, times where in the past people have been like, oh, you're too old, you can't compete. I didn't win my first world championship, so I was 20 years old. But I feel at this point in my life, my body's healthier now than it was when I was 20 years old. Take care of it better. So I think it's just natural progression, and it's exciting to see what's evolved over that period of time, and it's exciting to be a part of that. And we have something really special, and it starts at the top with our coaches, and it trickles down to our Nittany Lion Wrestling Club athletes, and it trickles down to the college athletes, and then future prospects that are looking there, and they realize this is the best place to train and compete currently and in the future, and create something pretty awesome.
Got a question down here.
Beckett Najar, School of New York Times. My question is for Jordan Burroughs. I know you're one of the most decorated and distinguished wrestlers of all time, from winning national titles at Nebraska to winning a gold medal in the Olympics. My question for you is, what motivated you to get this far, and how did you achieve that?
That's a great question. How old are you?
I'm 16. I'm going to junior year.
Very nice. Man, I remember when I was 16. When I was 16, my goal was to get a varsity jacket and to get my name in the paper, maybe even a picture on the front page of the sports section of the Courier Post or the Philadelphia Inquirer. That was the goal for all the kids in my area at that time. It shifts distinctly depending upon the time frame that you're in. When I got to college, I wanted to have my name in the rafters. I wanted to have my picture on the front of our media guide that they passed out to all the recruits. And then when I got to the senior level, I wanted followers. I wanted to make money. I wanted to make a name for myself. And now I've just gotten back to the purity of why I started this. I've got 4 little ones in my household that all count on me daily, and they watch me, and they get to see the way that I operate and navigate the world, how I train, how I take care of my body, the way that I treat people. And so it's shifted every season of my life. Now I rely heavily on my faith. I rely deeply on my family and the people that encourage and support me. And lastly, I'm just a competitor. I like beating people at stuff. And so that's what pushes me daily, man. So it's my motivation at this point comes from my faith, my family, and my competitive nature.
Thank you.
Questions for David, Kyle, Dake, and Jordan. The three of you have competed against each other many times over the last decade or so. You've also been, world team teammates a number of times. What have those matches and those relationships meant to your careers over the last 10 years or so?
I would just say it's growth. I think growth on and off the mat. I lost to these guys many times. And I think with those losses, it forced me to make a decision that I had to change and get better. I've been good for a really long time. And to be great, I had to make changes. And I think they were a big part of that. And so I'm grateful for those things. As much as I wish I was winning world and Olympic titles at a younger age, maybe it wasn't meant to be. And it's kept that motivation, hunger, and I've been able to wrestle a lot longer, So, and now Kyle and I, obviously have a really, really good relationship, and continue to push me every single day to be, a better man, to be a better father, to be a better wrestler. So, these guys have had a massive impact on my career. I'm grateful for that.
I would I would echo similarly to Dave. Obviously we've been competing for a long time. Dave and I have, and then Jordan and I have as well. So every time I'm hitting the mat and thinking, okay, what do I need to do to get better? How can I do this or that? What calculations do I need to make an improvement here or whatever? And then also off the mat, making the decisions to be better with every single bite I take, drink I take, and step I take. If I can improve a little bit with any tiny thing, it will reflect in my wrestling. And it's kind of been that motivating factor behind the scenes, nonstop. Like, okay, how can I get better? How can I get better? How can I get better? Because I know that the rest of the people that I'm going to be competing against, especially these guys, are going to be improving. So if I can keep improving, maybe I'll get my hand raised the next time.
That sounded like a song, bro. Every drink I take, every bite I take, every step I take. These guys they've elevated me. They pushed me tremendously for a long period of time. And now, in the role that I'm in, I've looked at these guys as inspiration. I think that kind of what David was alluding to earlier when talking about Aaron is you watch these guys grow up. And at one point, these guys may idolize you as an icon, and at a later point in their careers, you become a rival. And so I think that's kind of where we're at in this spot. But I think also I show extreme gratitude for these guys because of what they've provided for me daily. The ability to look at someone else with that same competitive desire and the same drive for excellence it's necessary to be better. And so, I think all of us can attest to this. I was looking back at the World Championships in 2013. I was the only medalist in 2013. 10 years later, look at this panel of guys surrounding me. We've got many world champions, many Olympic champions, and medalists galore. So I think that we've all elevated USA Wrestling entirely, and I think the stable of the next generation coming up behind us is inspired by everyone sitting at this table here.
Zeb Miller, OhioCast. This question's for Kyle Snyder and Jaden Cox. You guys have not hit, you wrestled in Detroit, I want to say in like a super match, but everybody wants 3 matches. I know you guys only want 2, one of you, one way or the other. This is it though, we want it, everybody wants this. I think everyone's gonna stick around for it. What does this matchup mean to you two, and how anticipated it for you guys, as the fans are anticipating it, media, everybody else? How anticipated and how fired up for this match are you two?
I'm fired up for it because, you get to wrestle in the World Championships if you win this. So for me, Jaden's a great opponent, and I like having somebody domestically to push me. And, I've started wrestling Jake Varner to make the team, and I knew if I could beat him, then I could beat anybody in the world. And it's a similar thing with Jaden. So, I'm excited to wrestle hard and compete as hard as I can.
A lot of old memories, obviously, with this. And for me, I think with anything that, you love, you want to try to be the best at it. And I have my pride isn't so big to say that Kyle Snyder isn't one of the best wrestlers in the world, you know, and of all time, especially within the U.S. So to have the opportunity is amazing. You know, and I've had conversation, actually, you can recall the conversation, it was after 2020. I told him, like, I don't envision beating you or pushing you. I envision dominating you. Like, that's my job and that's my goal. And that's not a trash talk. That's the ability of, like, that's what he talks about when he talks about someone who wants to compete and is going to compete against them. We've had many goes in the rooms. We have had many goes in our past as kids and growing. And honestly, it's an awesome thing to even think about. Seeing our roads, how it's gone from us, from being kids to high school and so on and so forth, to finally get to this point. It feels like it took a millennium for us to get here, but to be here now, I look forward to it. You know, we've worked, we've prepared, and it's time.
Zane, this question's for you. A year ago, you knew you could be a world medalist. You know, you knew you were on that level, but now you've done it. What's this year of training and preparation been like for you? Now knowing that where you wanted to be, at least close to where you wanted to be, is somewhere that now you've already been.
Yeah, it takes. I'd be ignorant to say it doesn't take a little pressure off. I've been really fortunate to have some cool life changes this past year. My wife had a baby, so had a son on New Year's Eve. So kind of just some fun things that are bigger than wrestling. So it's taking a lot of pressure off. I'm competing freely and just having fun with the sport. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, appreciate it.
This question's for Thomas. Thomas, could you talk about the challenge and the process of improvement that's necessary for someone not only to become a world champ, but also to push yourself to be even better at the next Worlds or the next Olympics, or, you know, the next challenge ahead? How do you approach that? Because obviously everyone else is working just as hard as you are.
Yeah, I would argue that nobody is working as hard as I am. I work pretty dang hard, and so I can't imagine a guy outworking me. Well, there's a couple guys, and they're probably sitting up here with me, but other than that, there ain't nobody outworking me. But just taking like a stoic view on the world, and you know, there are a lot of things that are within my control, and just finding those things and just going to work at them. You know, there are a lot of things that are outside my control, and I just try not to worry about them. You know, I'm always trying to improve and push my craft forward, but not just my craft, but just my life. You know, I try to not worry about wrestling too much per se, you know, because I feel like wrestling is wrestling. It's just one aspect of my life. You know, if I improve other aspects of my life, like my faith and my mind and my soul and my spirit, all these other things, then that's going to improve my wrestling too. So I kind of take a very unique approach to getting better. You know, it's not, for years I was, you know, so caught up in the technique and getting better technically and being the strongest I can possibly be in the best possible shape I can possibly be. And I got to this crossroads in my life where I was like, well, you know, I'm freaking, no one's stronger than me, no one's faster than me, no one's better conditioned than me, but I'm not where I want to be. Now, I'm not a world champion, and there's one year I didn't make the team. And so I had to really sit down and really figure that out, you know, a couple of years ago, and, you know, where am I lacking? It's, well, part of it was my faith. So you humble yourself before God and figure out if this is actually what he wants me to do. And, you know, I think that he answered that, and this is what he wants me to do, okay? So we take that step forward, and you can start working on your brain, get a little bit smarter. You know, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so I kind of started reading a little bit more, a little bit different things, you know, outside of history, you know, a little philosophy, Stoicism in particular. So just working on those things. You know, it's not always about the wrestling, you know, because wrestling, it is what it is. You know, you'll go out there and you're going to win or you're not. You either got it or you don't. You know, I'm not the best wrestler in the world, but I became a world champion, and I'm a couple-time world medalist. And I'm not the most technical guy in the world, but I just figured out a way to win. So the best guy doesn't always win. The fastest guy doesn't always win the race. So, yeah, I just try to improve my life as a whole, and then wrestling will just take care of itself, because wrestling it's finite. it's just a game. You know, I remember Coach Varner telling me long before I got to Penn State, this is just a game. You just got to play it better than the guy standing across from you. So why are you so worked up, dude? So that's all I got.
Question for Jason Nolf. A year ago, you took on Kyle at Final X. He was training at Cornell. He made the move to Nittany Lion Wrestling Club over the last year. What's it been like training alongside Kyle, or just kind of seeing him in the room, knowing you guys are both after the same thing? Then when, if, was the last time you guys trained together?
Yeah, we've trained together a few times. I think the last time that we trained together was before I went over to wrestle in Croatia, and obviously I had a great tournament. So I think obviously having a competitor like Kyle in the room is very beneficial to my own career. Just allows me to keep getting better and stay competitive, and it's just an extra motivation. So it's the David kind of talked about this, but RTCs are growing, and obviously Penn State has the best RTC in the country, and it's our coach's job to put together a good team and to supplement the Penn State wrestling team by bringing in guys for the RTC, and it's my job to win the matches. So it's just focusing every day on what you can do and doing the best with what you're given.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Got one in the back. Yep.
Ishan Shingeldecker, School of the New York Times, and my question is for all of you. And when competing in these like big events, and nationally, globally, the Olympics, some of you have competed in, it comes with, I'm assuming, a lot of stress and pressure and like just nerves. So what are some like techniques that you guys have to like handle those nerves and get out there and compete and put those things aside you and get ready?
Start with Jason and just work our way down.
I zoned out for a second. Could you repeat that?
How do you deal with nerves?
How do I deal with nerves?
Yep.
So the biggest thing that I do to deal with nerves is just pray. Nerves are natural. They're a part of competing. So I just pray that God turns my nerves into energy and then allows me to go out there and wrestle, spirited. And, obviously there's physical things that you can do. Make sure you get a good warm up, positive self-talk, stuff like that. But yeah, I would say praying is the most important for me.
What was your name again? Ishan? I think one thing that's great about wrestling is you get to control what you do when you go out there. We're not reliant on anything else. We don't have 10 other teammates that pick us up when we fall down. So the best way to alleviate the things that you talked about is your preparation. And I found a lot of peace in my preparation. So my advice to you would be, dive into the work that you're doing. Believe in it, have trust in it. Don't let anyone outwork you. And it'll leave a lot of those things. And it's natural to feel nervous. That's natural instinct. That means your body's ready to go. If I sat up here and I wasn't nervous, there'd be something wrong. You're going out and stepping across and you're wrestling somebody that's extremely talented and they want to win as bad as you do. And that's part of the process. That's why we're doing this. We're ultimate competitors. So it's okay to compete. It's okay to get nervous. Accept that. Believe in your preparation. Don't let anyone outwork you. And you have peace of the result.
Yeah, when you get nervous, it's your animal brain turns on, so that you can go out and be stronger than you've ever been, faster than you've ever been, and in better condition than you've ever been. So you need to tap into that. Take control of it. Say this is good for me, and this is going to make me better. And whether it be you're writing a paper or you're going out and running away from a lion, it's the same. If it's in your mind, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So. Just know that if you go out and do your best, that all the butterflies, all that adrenaline, that's going to help you do better.
Yeah. I get nervous before I train sometimes, I came into practice the other day and I knew I was going to wrestle Dave in a match on Friday, and in the morning I woke up and I was like, this is a competition day. This is like a real deal for me. So I get a lot of reps, you know, dealing with that. And the other thing, I just always remind myself, and I know, is that God is love and God is in control. So no matter what happens, it's all for my benefit. So I'm just trusting in Him the whole time.
Yeah, these are all great things. Gratitude, expressing gratitude, you know, being thankful for the position that you're in. I think oftentimes when you find yourself in the tunnel, standing next to your opponent, and the magnitude of the moment really starts to get to you, you're like, man, have you ever seen those Snickers commercials where it's like, want to get away? Like, you start to feel like, man, I would rather be somewhere else. But I think you have to remind yourself that you prepared for this, you chose this. You meticulously prepped and arrived at this moment for such a time. And so I think that gratitude, thankfulness in that moment, and reminding myself that there's no place in the world that I'd rather be than here at this very moment is always good for me.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think for me, this is just off the cuff. Sometimes if there's a restroom nearby and you use the restroom, it actually helps relieve it. I don't know if any of you guys have ever experienced that, but like, go to the bathroom real quick, you're good, yeah. Oh, one, only one, don't do two. Like, yeah, only do one, don't do two. Because then you're stressing that I'm not gonna make it to the mat on time. So that usually helps a little bit. I usually like to sing, crack jokes with guys. I think a big thing though, when I'm out on the mat, you know, I always say my prayer. I pace back and forth, and I don't really look at my opponent when going out there. Like, this person isn't real, because that's, for me, that moment right when I'm walking up there and I give my high five to my coaches is when I feel the most. And I remember I watched Mike Tyson. He used to say, like, he would look his opponents in the eyes, and if they looked away, like, he knew he had them. But for me, I'm like, well, in my mind, this guy is not the worst, isn't my worst opponent. I'm my worst opponent. You know, I have to defeat me first before I go out here and worry about this person. And so, like, I look up and I say my prayer, and it's just, you know, God, let me compete to the best of my ability, what you bless me with, and that's it. Not caring about, you know, the outcomes or anything like that. And then I finally, from the corner of my eye, I'll see the ref reach out and tell me to come to the center. And then I still don't look at my opponent, and I shake hands and I look at it. And at that point, it's like, well, heck, can't turn back now. So let's go. And I think that kind of is where I tap into what Kyle Dake was saying about, it's like, hey, just tap into it, go. Can't go anywhere. I'm not gonna quit, so that's not an option.
So I have this thought theory that any negative thought or emotion that comes into my brain and body, it doesn't really stem from me. It's like some outside spiritual entity force called Satan or the devil. And he's always trying to take me off the path. He's trying to take all of us off the path. And if you don't think that or you don't believe that, then you probably should do some soul searching, because there's spiritual warfare going on amongst us, and we have to really address it. Anyways, that's a little tangent. So these thoughts, negative emotions, stress, anxieties are being put there to kind of take me off the path. And so when you have an idle mind, those thoughts kind of come in. So I try to always keep good, positive things going through my mind. I have a series of things I say to myself. Sometimes it's quietly, sometimes it's out loud, depending on how much energy I need to be putting out to keep those forces at bay. And sometimes it looks like I'm a little bit crazy when you see a person walking around talking to themselves and zoning around. But you know, I think that we're all a little bit crazy. And we have to be sitting up here. You know, I think a lot sometimes sit in the sauna. It's like cutting weight. Like, what the heck am I doing here? You know, this takes a lunatic to be doing this for not even for a job. I mean, obviously we get paid and there's compensation, but doing it because I want to. It's insane. But yeah, I just keep positive things going through my brain, you know, whether it's, you know, I am strong, I am tough, whatever it might be. You know, it's kind of cliche and whatever, but it's positive. And also prayer helps too. You know, and just being present as well. You know, just be right where your feet are. That's something I've been working on a lot, you know, the last, 3, 4, 5 years, is just being here. You know, I just want to be right where I'm at, right where my feet are. A lot of times we're physically here, but mentally and emotionally and spiritually we're somewhere else. And that's not good. That's when you get hurt, and we don't need to get hurt. So that's that.
Yeah, I had this thought getting ready for my semifinal matchup at the World Championships this year. I was getting nervous and I felt it, and kind of like Thomas just said, I just thought, we are insane to step out on the mat, and I'm here because I want to be here. I love this feeling. I think you got to be a little crazy to like that feeling, but I think either way, we've all had times where nerves have interfered with our performance, and I think nerves can either be your friend or your enemy, and you get to make that choice. So kind of like Kyle Dake said, I look at nerves as, it's your animal brain turning on. If there was a grizzly bear right behind me right now, I'd be really nervous. But so use that for your advantage. It makes you a little faster, a little quicker, a little stronger. So in that mindset, I think they're your friend, but you could easily go the other way with it. So just in those moments, remember why you're there, seek gratitude, like a few of these guys have already said, and you want to be here. I chose this moment. Final X is a big fun event, but I chose to be here and might as well use those nerves and go have some fun with it. So that's kind of how I approach it. Yep.
I think we have time for one more.
Declan Cody, School of the New York Times. My question is for Jordan. You are a major brand ambassador and role model for the sport of wrestling and for athletes all around the world. What advice would you give to young athletes trying to pursue a career or just athletic excellence?
That's a complex question. I'll try to answer it as quickly as I can. Follow the people that have blazed the trail for the things that you want to do. Right? Stick with the winners. Stick with the people that have done well, that have been a pioneer in the field that you're trying to pursue, and cling closely to those guys. Allow for yourself to become a sponge so you can soak up all the information that you need, avoid the mistakes that they once made, the pitfalls that they made in their career, and then you can try to elevate to their level or maybe even beyond it. I would say, I just follow my favorite athletes. I follow my favorite men that live with honor and integrity, one that live by a moral standard and a code of conduct, ones that are doing the things that I want to do. And then I try to replicate that daily. I lock into my faith. I surround myself with people that encourage me and inspire me. I put myself in position to do something that I feel purposeful and passionate about. And then lastly, I try to do something that's bigger than myself. And all of those things kind of coincide with one another and make a special formula for me to be great at this. I don't take a lot of credit for what I do. I just work hard and I show up. I show up and I work hard. And I've been surrounded with a wonderful team, great teammates, great leadership, great family, people that empower me and pour into me. All I got to do is just put the work in. That's it.
Great. So at this time, we'll let the athletes take a step down and we'll be available for breakout interviews as needed. We also have a handful of athletes in the back as well that are Final X qualifiers. So feel free, athletes. Thank you for your time. Press, thank you for coming out. We appreciate it.
In the back, some random, any athletes that are not here. Yeah, some of them might be here, some are not. I don't know. Where are some of the seats? I guess. I mean, how many questions? Yeah. I mean, they